Monday. It is today's a little bit a day late, but we are spending some time today recognizing World Cancer Day, and that's February 4th every year. There was a new blog up on Lifepro's main site today. We're gonna have a few links. As we go through today, I want to talk and focus a little bit more on the self-care side, things that you can do with your Lifepro products at home, whether you are dealing with a diagnosis, helping someone cope with a diagnosis or treatment, perhaps, or maybe it's just preventative. So there's lots of different reasons to keep the mental and the physical focus on good things. A few stats, as I like to do for the awareness piece. I don't think there's too many people that haven't been affected in some way by cancer. World Cancer Day, as I said, is every year on February the 4th. The mission is to prevent millions of deaths each year by raising awareness, education about cancer. There's events happening all across the globe this weekend aimed at inviting your colleagues, your friends, your family, and whatever local initiatives are happening in your area. This is a great way to share, be empowered, share your success stories, and contribute, of course, to a good cause. Back in the US of A, according to the Center for Disease Control, there were 602,350 cancer deaths in the United States in 2020. Cancer was the second leading cause of death after heart disease, which I'm going to be talking about next week. So many reasons when you're dealing with an illness, a chronic illness, recovering from an illness, to use activities and some of your self-care tools to just cope with these situations that our health takes us in. So out of that, 284,619 were among females, and 317,731 were among males. So a pretty even split. Lung cancer was the leading cause of death of all the cancer deaths. And in 2022, they are projecting for this past year, 1.9 people will be diagnosed with new cancers in the USA. The number one reason folks die or type of cancer is lung, but I found it interesting that breast cancer, out of those estimated 1.9 million diagnoses in the States for 2020, they are saying that the majority being diagnosed, both men and women, not as large a number, 200 and almost 88,000 women are estimated to be diagnosed with breast cancer, and about 2,800 men. So that was an interesting statistic, but that is the most commonly diagnosed type of cancer is breast. So today I want to talk about a few things. One thing kind of at the top of this, when you're dealing with cancer, you're supporting someone with cancer, is the mental health impact. And mental health can be affected in a number of positive and negative ways. And sometimes, when you're facing a diagnosis or you're going through treatment, we're so busy with other things, or our focus is elsewhere, that we don't always invest the mental time and physical time into our own self-care. And you as care providers, or if you're dealing with a diagnosis, the best thing that you can do is invest some time in some of your coping mechanisms. So today I want to talk a little bit about self-care, some alternative therapies and activities. A lot of the questions we get are, should I use my vibration machine? Should I be using my massage gun? Is it okay to use my red light therapy? So being that it is Q&A Monday, I want to give you the chance to blast me. I'm not saying I have all the questions available for the topic of cancer and how you should proceed as far as a treatment. The first blanket statement I will say, of course, if you are dealing with a new diagnosis, suspect, have a history of, and you're looking at a new type of therapy or activity, it's always a good idea to have a discussion with your care provider. Not necessarily to say that you cannot use something. I think sometimes we don't ask because we're afraid that'll be the answer. But there may be modifications required. You're dealing with a different body. If you've gone through treatment, your strength, your stamina, there's all kinds of things that can be affected. And it just means that maybe you need to modify and change what you may have been doing before. And sometimes you're not aware of some of the benefits that your therapies may offer you. I'm just sitting here and before I go sit to my machine, I'm realizing how much my top melds with Lifepro Blue today. That was totally an unplanned thing and just a way for me to make you smile. What I want you to do, if you are dealing with a diagnosis or you're trying to be strong with someone else and you're advocating for them and their care, the battle for care can be an uphill one, and the clock is ticking on your condition. So anything that you can do to improve your state of health. Probably one of the biggest questions we will get today is, can I use my vibration plate if I am dealing with an active cancer diagnosis? And I have had that question numerous times over my years of doing this. And it really, like exercise, boils down to you as an individual. If your doctor, and most of the doctors I know caring for cancer patients, don't discourage activity. Maybe there's a modification to what you're doing in the veracity or the type of activity that you're doing. Maybe certain activities are making you feel nauseous, or it's not just for you, but it's very, very rare, unless there's something other going on, that they will discourage you against being active. When you move, lymph moves. You're doing a lot of sitting and laying down, and the hips get stiff and the back gets stiff. So you may not be able to work out per se, but there's a lot of things that you can do with your vibration plates, your treadmills, your ellipticals, your massage guns, your click weights, any of your amazing Lifepro tools we're going to talk about today. And I'm just going to give a general overview of why you may want to consider using them. And again, absolutely make sure that using therapies and appropriate activity have been discussed prior with your care provider. I need a slurp. Okay, so today I have a few things set up on the wall. Very often when you're dealing with a new diagnosis, whether it's cancer or not, it gets us motivated. Oh my gosh, I need to start looking after myself. And sometimes we dive into too many things at once. If you do not have a history of being an active individual, you shouldn't try and make up for 20, 30, 40 years of being inactive, especially when you're dealing with a body that's not normally in the condition it should be. So I've got a few things here I want to talk about today. When you are dealing with a diagnosis, or if you're going through treatment, one of the big things you may notice is things like vertigo or nausea. And that's, sometimes just associated with the type of treatments that we're doing. Sometimes it's due to a depleted body or a body that's just unhealthy. And I wanted to bring a few examples today of things that you could use to stabilize yourself on your plate. Sitting on a chair, you've seen me do this so many times. Today I have my fancy, completely worn out office chair that is a great tool for mobility. If your mobility has changed, you find you're unstable. A lot of times you're dealing with neuropathy and you're unsure of yourself. A chair that swivels is a really nice way to get on the machine, and this has an adjustable height. Today I'm featuring something specifically exclusive on Amazon. I'm going to have Jen, my superstar behind the scenes, post for me. This is the trim light, and it's very similar to the Waver Mini. I'm going to let you actually take a good look at it. I'm going to show you how strong I am. This is the number one thing I love about the trim light. So this has the little ergonomic bumps, like if you want to do some of the reflexology, but they're not so prominent that you're going to find them uncomfortable. This is just a basic oscillating machine. It comes with an optional attachable handle. Okay, so if you are dealing with poor mobility, range of motion is lacking, everything just hurts. This is a very affordable, very basic oscillating unit. Might make a great complement to a plate that you already have. Sorry. Perhaps you are looking at just getting started in some moderate or mild activity. This is a really good suggestion. What I had on the top was a little piece of yoga mat that I cut. I was cutting yoga mats into pieces long before machines included them with your plate. The reason I say a yoga mat, a nice thick one, is what you're looking for. If you are dealing with sensitivity issues, whether you, like I say, you're going through cancer treatment or you're recovering from it, you just feel different mentally, physically, and sometimes you need to change your path, for good days and bad days. So a mat is a good idea if you're dealing with really a heightened sensitivity in the feet, neuropathy, or maybe you're just a little bit fearful. And seated in a stool is a good way. If you are feeling, sometimes with nausea, the machine makes you feel better. Sometimes, it doesn't. It really depends on you personally. But if you have been prone to motion sickness, car rides, those type of things are not something that leave your stomach feeling very good, you might want to try seated. And why would you want to use a vibration machine if you have cancer or you suspect you have cancer? Well, it's not about why you would want to use a vibration machine. It's really the same answer as why would you want to be active, to get lymph moving. We all know the benefits of exercise, and our bodies are better, whether we're in a state of good health or not, they are better when they are active. And a vibration plate is simply an environment that makes being active kinder, especially on a frail body. It's going to reduce the amount of time you spend doing activity. And it's going to, where you're doing positions where you're applying yourself to maybe some squats, some push-ups. If you're doing those types of things, you're going to have to apply a little bit less effort because of that shorter duration. So if you've never used a plate before and you don't have experience prior to a diagnosis, or you've gone through treatment, another reason to be seated in a chair, just get used to how it feels before you start bearing weight on it. I'm going to move this so I can see the buttons. And I always push buttons with my toes. I prefer barefoot. I'm in a basement where it's a little bit chillier, so the mat was a little bit warmer, but I do prefer direct contact if tolerance is there. When you're dealing with a diagnosis and a body that perhaps hasn't been active in some time, the one lesson I can give you on an oscillating machine in any speed program, doesn't matter, is that you are always in control. So if your feet are really wide, the handle, everything's moving more. If your feet are close, much, much less movement. For those of you that are looking at the handle portion and saying, well, it's moving back and forth, it's designed to, just like when you're standing on the plate, if it was stiff and rigid, it would have to have a different construction. This isn't meant to be, substantial weight bearing. The next progression, this would be just something to give you a little bit of reassurance, something to hang on to. If you need to use a lot of your own upper body, or you need to leverage the arms of your chair to stand up, you may want to use your plate by the back of a couch, a safety, this is a ladder that I use sometimes, something that's going to give you a little bit more ability to stand up or start in a standing position. And when you're feeling you need a break, sit back down. But anything like this is just more peace of mind. It gives you a little bit of stability when you're standing. But I wouldn't recommend, if you're a 275-pound football player, to use this, to pull your mass up. It's not designed to do this. This one adjusts. I love this one for my pediatric group because a lot of my littles using the machine are short. So this can go really, really low, depending on how tall you are or what user is using it. And there's 5 different adjustment points. Again, this is something that's completely optional, but a really nice value add, in my opinion, for the price. Probably one of the most inexpensive plates on the market with handles, and it's got a lifetime warranty. What more can I say? So how close the feet are is really, really critical. That's how you control the intensity. I would also recommend, I'll probably never change the mentality out there, but there's a mentality that we start slow. And starting slow on a treadmill or an elliptical, is a speed association thing. But on a vibration machine, starting slow is starting choppy and wobbly. It's kind of like your Bosu ball speeds. And in the research, the really slow side to side movement of the oscillating platform is designed for destabilization, balance. And we all want to improve our balance. But if you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis, you're dealing with nausea, vertigo, migraines, the last thing I want to do to a weak body is destabilize it. We don't want you falling. We don't want to trigger something like dizziness because we weren't prepared for this rocking boat. So in combination with bringing your feet closer, whatever platform model you are using, bring your preset speed up to a mid-range. So this one has 99. I'm in the 40-50 range. And just like driving on a bumpy gravel road, when you're going really slow, you kind of feel every bump and every little movement in the road. But when you're going faster, you still kind of feel the bumps, but you're skimming across the top. So the faster you go, the less time your body's got to react and move back and forth. With an oscillating plate, improved balance and stability is a side effect. It's just the nature of whatever speed you are using on the machine. That's why they're a great prep for other therapies, or if you're just for your life, if you're an unstable person or you're dealing with challenges that present poor balance, this 2 to 3 minutes before you head out the door, before you go for treatment, just to get the blood and the lymph going. Unless you have been advised against exercise or increasing circulation, there's no reason that you shouldn't consider movement. And think of a vibration machine as very kind, very fast, but very low amount of movement. It's even less impact than walking across the floor. So you wouldn't need a whole lot of time. 1 to 2 minutes. One of the big reasons you'd want to use your plate when you're dealing with any kind of a medical condition, especially pain, is fatigue. Fatigue presents itself very commonly when you're going through treatment. Perhaps you've been up all night caring for someone and you just didn't get any sleep last night. A minute or two is going to oxygenate the blood. It's going to ramp up that circulation and that lymphatic, get nutrients to the cells. There's going to be other things I'm going to talk about combining here next that are other therapies to consider. But a vibration plate for a minute or two is a quick way to get some energy into that tired little body so you can have some quality of life. Maybe you're caring for yourself and you don't have a big support network and you got to get down to the hospital or to the clinic. Just a minute or two on the machine is not only going to give you more energy, but whether you're using it seated or standing, you're going to find an improvement in your balance and your stability. Okay. The other big thing I want to talk about as I'm sitting here rambling into my 5th minute was the part I talked about in the beginning, the mental health piece. One of the biggest reasons to embark on activity or movement of some kind is mental, just making you moving and feeling better has a mental lift. It has a positive effect on cognitive, if you will, whether that, some of us are looking for better memory. Some of us are looking for, better learning capability. But when you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis and going through treatment, you're just tired and so fatigued all the time. You need a little bit of energy. So a vibration machine is a great way to not only improve energy and circulation, but weight bearing, if possible, if you're able to tolerate it, even just a little bit of a squat, bone density and maintaining that bone strength and flexibility is so important, especially if you're going through treatments. There's not a lot out there, but has been many studies that in the preliminary part have looked at using a vibration plate through treatment to maintain and keep those bones strong, because we do know it is characteristic of some of the treatments that we go through. And if you've been dealing with cancer for a long time, have been inactive as a result of that, the bone density and the muscle strength, those type of things tend to deplete as well. So if you are able to progress, you're going to maybe have days where you're feeling better than others. Even just a simple squat is going to have a little bit more of a total body effect. If you can't squat, just standing a little bit, perhaps leaning over, getting into that low back, the hips, even just moving around for a minute or two. It doesn't need to be a big fitness thing. If I stand too tall, I've cut my head off today with my camera. maybe that's not comfortable, and you feel more comfortable having one foot on the floor and just get a little bit more of a leg going. Whatever feels comfortable. There is no right or wrong. You know how you're feeling, and you know how your body is receiving the energy this machine is giving to you. Okay, so we could get into a lot of detail as to what I do for this, what I do for that. There's been a number of videos. Maybe you're dealing with sciatic issues, maybe you're dealing with scoliosis on top of that. There's a lot of co-conditions that typically exist because anyone can get cancer at any given time. What I'm talking about today is self-care, activity, self-therapy at home. The reality is, for some of us, we don't have the ability or access to regular therapy. So if you do find yourself in a situation where you're doing more at home, a vibration plate, or perhaps you already own one but are intimidated, I want to give you reassurance today, but there are ways, depending on your situation, where you're at in your treatment or your recovery, that activity absolutely in most cases has been recommended. This is just an alternative to that traditional activity. So, your approach might just be a little bit different. Other things I want to talk about are massage. I pulled this bad boy out today. One of the things that a lot of my clients have employed, this is a foot massager. Of course, we've talked about massage guns. Okay. Massage is another, maybe perhaps more localized way to get a little relief to achy areas. If you have been spending a lot of time seated, or due to your personal situation, you're unable to stand, and perhaps maybe not just for long periods, as much as I'd like to stand on that machine, Debbie, I'm just not there yet. So other things to consider, like I say, a foot massager is a really good tool that you can situate where you spend your time sitting throughout the course of the day. If you are dealing with secondary symptoms like neuropathy, swelling is another huge thing that you'll find, not only when you're going through treatment, but recovery or leading up to treatment. Just, your body sometimes is in a situation where, with the pain, being inactive and standing for long periods just isn't an option. So foot massagers, using your plate seated, anything that you can do to get those lower extremities moving. And of course, incorporating some of these tools is going to be just an easier way. It's less taxing on you, and it's going to help you reserve the energy that you do have. A massage gun is a great tool if you find, if you're dealing more with upper body extremities and you're unable to physically get down on the ground to take advantage of your machine or your foot massager, just hanging on to your gun, just like a vibration machine, crank it up to a mid setting. Don't start slow. Those slow wobbly speeds are not as comfortable when you're dealing with nausea and all kinds of therapies going through your system. I think you'll find a mid to higher speed more soothing, more tonic, and more comfortable for what you're dealing with. Even just hanging on to this is going to improve grip strength. It's going to get some circulation going through the hands and the wrists. And if you're able to, sensitivity, again, being a big thing with a massage gun. I've done this in other sessions, but kind of instinctively, we think we got to like press really hard to get the best effect on a massage gun. But the reality is, let the gun do the work. Instead of pressing, which probably hurts, and you're too weak, and this hurts anyways, just slowly skim the surface of the skin of the area that you want to treat. For me, my wrists get really bad towards the end of the day, and I know there's a lot of little bones in there, but you see how I'm barely touching it? I'm just letting the gun do the work and letting the speed. And then I love to put the palms of my hands on it, and I kind of press it in, and then I let the fingers hit it. Play with it. It doesn't mean that you need to be, Mr. Massage Therapist, and be able to do everything. But I think once you get a little more strength, and you understand how your tools can be used in a mild fashion, you might get a little bit more tempted to experiment. But, sometimes frozen shoulders, work on the areas that are giving you grief. And work with the range of motion that you have. If the big key with something like this, and your vibration plate and your foot massagers, is consistent, regular use to help manage those symptoms. And again, back to the mental health thing. If you can manage the pain, if you can get some circulation going, if you can get some nutrients to those cells, I I think the mental game is going to improve too. The last thing I want to mention also, I love having my visual aids. Red light therapy and infrared as well. All kinds of different options. Infrared's going to bring a different infrared and red light, red light therapy, because there's just so much going on with red light therapy, infrared therapy, and all the spectrums of color in between. I think you're going to see a lot more research coming, and science is never settled. There's so many ranges within the frequencies of vibration plates, lights. They're all frequency tools, but the operating frequencies and the benefits that you tap into are going to be different depending on the device. So with your light therapies, where these become an advantage to you is those severe, don't touch me, I can't move. You can still apply treatment where, physically you just cannot handle the physical touch. I really love the light therapies for that. Infrared in particular, sauna bags, the sauna booths, the domes, all these new amazing tools that Lifepro has come out with in the last few months are going to be awesome to ramp up your detoxification. I cannot stress detox enough. Exercise does that as well. When you move, your lymph moves. Using these therapies in combination is also a great way to accelerate the individual benefits of each. So in honor of World Cancer Day today, I want you to, don't get hung up on the main treatments, but don't forget about investing some valuable time in your self-care, whether you are managing with a condition now, getting ready, for treatment, perhaps you're the care person. I always say to my families and in my special needs group, if you're not taking care of yourself physically and mentally, it's going to be hard for you to care for your kids. So same here, whether it's a husband, a wife, a brother, a sister, a colleague, a best friend, whomever is dealing with cancer, the healthier and the more mentally positive everyone can be. There's that placebo effect. So use what you have. And if you do have questions specific to today's session, Debbie, can I use this with cancer? It really depends, just like fitness, where you're at in your treatment, in your recovery. But if you do have these tools at home now, many of you, I'm sure, are already using them. And there's just a whole boatload of research coming out between red light and infrared activities, ways that we can combat these conditions, and a healthier body goes a long way in prevention. Of course, we know that. So I could go on and on about each of the individual technologies, and probably many I haven't covered, but it's okay to be active. In many cases, when you're dealing with a cancer diagnosis, it's encouraged anyways. A vibration plate, a treadmill, some of the tools that Lifepro offers for those home environments just make the consistency and a lot of times the affordability, where you just don't have access to therapies locally. It's hard to travel, it costs money to travel. So if you got these things and you've been using them for fitness or other reasons leading up to a diagnosis, there's a lot of therapeutic benefits to being active, using your light therapies, the infrareds, your massage. I just can't say enough about the tools that you have, not only being a fitness tool, but also to help your body thrive when it is under stress. And, if the mental game isn't there, if you're beating yourself up, if you're believing this is it, change your attitude. The mental health is such an influence on our physical, but so is, the more positive, there's been all kinds of studies about this, but that down self-talk, don't give this condition an identity. It's not my cancer. It sounds like a boyfriend. It's something that you're dealing with. And I'm sending my positive energies to you if you are dealing with this situation right now personally, or caring for someone. But there's lots of ways that you can improve your situation. And sometimes you just need a little support. So I'm going to offer again, if you are dealing with a cancer diagnosis, you've got some of your Lifepro tools, or you've been considering one and you've just gotten a diagnosis, chances are there's probably a way you can move forward with modifications to your plans. So if you do have questions, tag me at Debbie with a Y. Perhaps you're watching this after the fact and you're just wondering if you can use your therapies during diagnosis. There was a really good blog article up yesterday. Jen got that up, recognizing World Cancer Day, getting into a little bit more detail on some of the things I recommended today, as well as linking not only to some products, but to other related blog articles. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. As I said, I think we're working towards a heart health session. February is a big month for awareness. So I look forward to speaking with you guys a little bit more. Last but not least, thank you for reminding me, Jen. It's almost Valentine's, like next Tuesday. So if you haven't been thinking about it, start thinking about it. I know traditionally chocolates have been on the shelf forever, ever since the Christmas candy started to exit. The Valentine's stuff was already getting set up. Yes, I've partaken myself, but it is up to 45% off right now at Lifepro on select items for Valentine's Day until February 14th. There's a link there for you. They've kind of arranged the sale items so you can take a look if there's something of interest. The trim light that I worked with today is only available on Amazon. So if you are interested in that, I'll make sure we get up a link to that as well. And again, if you do have any questions related to cancer, using your plates, perhaps you've got co-conditions. There's not many conditions where you're told not to be active. And in many cases, you can modify what you're doing with your tools for the situation that you're dealing in. So I'm here to support you at Debbie with a Y. If you have questions, please post them in today's feed. Have a great Monday. Have a great start to your week. And I'll talk to you guys just before Valentine's next week. Get even more reason to be heart related, a healthy heart, body and mind. Oh, I almost sound like a commercial. But happy Valentine's Day next week. Like I say, 45% off. I look forward to speaking with you guys next Monday, same time, same place. Have a great rest of your week. Don't work too hard. Thanks, Jen. Don't work too hard behind the scenes as well.